Wild swan, what I knit at night unravels each dawn, yarn slipping like smoke from the day's bright needles. A prince once was a boy, a swan, my autistic son. It burns, his garment of nettle, his singlet of stars. The night cries are feral and awful. My hours are cloistered with wool. I make the knots faster and faster, knowing what morning will bring. At his lips, one white crescent pin feather. Under the counterpane, his shining wing. Last bison gone. Ours is the curse of the blighted touch that wilts every green shoot and flower we mean to admire, recreate, or improve. New Zealand's huia bird, prized for her scimitar beak and pleated Victorian petticoat tail, was hunted extinct, except for this diving-belled brooch and sad hatband, fast falling to dust in the Smithsonian. We love what we love in the scientific way, efficient, empiric, vicious, too much, and always we touch it, our breath blooming algae on the walls of Lascaux, shimmering in acid etch green. In a former life, I was a criminal defense attorney, and in my last case before I retired, I defended Luther Vandross in a vehicular manslaughter case. It was actually a very tragic case, and that's where this poem comes from. It's called Blame. Blame the olive tree that dropped its great gout of dark fruit onto asphalt for the swerve and spin out etched in fresh virgin press. Blame the natural law that made helpless bodies attract and collide and then come to rest in the acacia-treed canyon. The driver sat behind the wheel, his side not pierced, not yet. Yes, he was drunk, but only with joy for the lovely, lithe boy now fused with the car, shrink-wrapped in leather and steel and veiled in the webbed windshield. The boy who sang backup gospel like a bruised angel and was the pride of his whole Bronx block. Blame the last bright note that opened his throat and sank into pollen and dust. This next poem is for a young man who used to play ice hockey with my son, who I read about in the first poem. And Jake was just grievously wounded in Afghanistan, and he won't be playing ice hockey anymore. Teleology. In the seed lies all that it can ever be. Shoot, plant, flower, fruit, and in the end again, the seed. In the acorn, the entire tree. One quark encrypts a universe. A world unfurls from just one jewel of fire. An atom splits and spews Japan, blood, bone, gene, cell, predict events as well as tell them, and no science, God, or creed can crack the code, unwind the strands that bind our eyes and blind our hands. We walk a land that's charted. And even as a war somewhere ends, somewhere some war has started. And I'll close with on a lighter note with a poem that was inspired by that wonderful tradition of Herbert and Donne and the metaphysical poets, what I call the erotically infused spiritual poem. And it was also, this poem was also inspired by a couple residencies I spent in the South at Warren Wilson when I used to sneak out at night to the contra dance tent. Are there any contra dancers here? Well, you might have heard of a move called the Gypsy Meltdown. It's a really sexy dance move that involves, it's amazing, and it involves only the eyes. Contra dance. A lapsed apostasy called out to me that I ought not to abandon love until love had abandoned me. His shadow was long and conjoined with mine, and so I took my place in the line. I held my breath, and my breath held me. The moth to the blue-tipped flare, the raptor's relation to air. I'll love you forever like you once loved me, he said, then Gypsy Meltdown. He walked a wide circle that pinned my eyes to his. I fell back into the back of a great green wave. I fell into the swell of a great green wave. I was the flung shell of the sea. Thank you so much.